Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A very good afternoon to everyone joining us today. I'm Ikra Nasir. Uh, I'm honored to moderate this webinar entitled Afghans in Pakistan, the Tale of Success and Failures on behalf of Pak-Afghan Youth Forum. This session is a testament of Pak-Afghan Youth Forum's commitment to foster dialogue and collaboration between Pakistan and Afghanistan on crucial socio-economic and humanitarian issues. Before we officially begin, it's my privilege to invite Mr. Salman Javed, Director Pak Afghan Youth Forum, to share his opening remarks and set stage for today's discussion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ikra. I'll not be able to come onto camera because of the internet situation over here. Uh, Thank you so much, everyone, the participants and the esteemed panelists who have joined us today on this webinar to carry out this discussion on a topic which is very close to our heart. Being the Institute, Pak-Afghan Youth Forum, we have always tried to bridge gap between the communities of two countries, that is Pakistan and Afghanistan. And first off, a big shout out to all of you for joining this webinar, Afghans in Pakistan, the tale of success and failure. Whether you are tuning in from Pakistan, Afghanistan, or beyond, I welcome you all on this space for open and honest conversation. So let's start with some context. Pakistan has been home to 4.4 million Afghan refugees for over past few decades, like almost 4 decades. That's massive. I mean, even today, more than 1.3 million registered Afghan refugees live here. Some have built amazing businesses, smashed academic records, and added real value to the society of Pakistan and economy of Pakistan also. But let's be real, as we also know, it's not all smooth sailing. There are also struggles like access to education, jobs, and the whole challenge of fitting into the new society and new country that is Pakistani society. Apart from these 1.3 million registered refugees, there is another unregistered lot, which amounts to about 2 million people, 2 million Afghan people who are living over here. Recently, we have repatriated almost zero point 0.7 million, that is 700,000 people, back to Afghanistan who were illegal immigrants over here. That was also something which came in our debate over here, which was part of our discourse, still part of our discourse. Many actually favored that position and policy of the Pakistani government and state, but many also criticized it at a juncture when both countries needed to have good relations with each other to bridge gaps. Pakistani state opted for a policy which actually did not resonate well with the people of Afghanistan. So today we are here to unpack it all, the wins, the lesson, and the stuff we still need to figure out. What worked, what didn't, and most importantly, how can we, the people of both countries, shape a future where Pakistan and Afghanistan grow stronger together. Because, like in the words of former president of Afghanistan, Mr. Karzai, both of these countries are conjoined twins. So whether we like it or not, we cannot divorce geography. We cannot divorce our history, tradition, culture, and obviously the religious link that we have with each other. So let's sit together, talk about it, and especially about those people who are living over here for last four plus decades and have become an integral part of our society, that is Pakistan society. So this webinar isn't just about talking; it's about understanding, reflecting, and hopefully sparking a real action. So let's make the most of this chance to connect and collaborate. And I hope that we will learn from the worthy panelists who have joined us today and kindly consented to come over and may put forth their point of view and their inputs for the policy frameworks that we can then share with some policymakers and policy circles, and of course with the masses as well. Thank you so much. Over to you, Ikra. You can now continue with your program.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful words and for setting tone for this webinar. As we move forward, I would like to reiterate the importance of today's dialogue. Pakistan has hosted one of the largest Afghan refugee population um, for over 4 decades, shaping the region's socioeconomic and humanitarian landscape. Through this discussion, we aim to reflect on the successes and failure in our approach, identify actionable solutions, and celebrate the resilience of Afghan refugees in Pakistan. Our esteemed speakers today will bring unique perspectives that will help us explore the complex realities faced by Afghan refugees, from socio-economic barriers and educational achievements to broader trade connectivity and opportunities. Let's begin with the introduction of our speakers. We have two speakers from Pakistan and two from Afghanistan. First of all, I would like to introduce Mr. Imtiaz Gul. He is a senior journalist and executive director of Center of Research and Security Studies. The center is the research and advocacy output focused on security, radicalization, and government. Under his institution, they have separate chapter for Afghanistan that is contributing to research and academia. He is also author of many books Pakistan Before and After Osama bin Laden, and The Unholy Nexus, Pak-Afghan Relations under Taliban, and so on. Then we have Ms. Fajer Rabia Pasha. She is Executive Director of Pakistan Alliance for Girls Education page. She is social entrepreneur and social activist and influencer fighting for education rights for girls in Pakistan, also working for Afghan refugees, especially Afghan women and women empowerment. Then we have speakers from Afghanistan, Mohibullah Noori. He is a prominent Afghan regional activist and CEO of Fajer Regional Integration Movement, a US-based non-profit organization committed to unite regional activists and promoting integration across Fajer region. He is a strong advocate of Pak-Afghan unity and inspired by Iqbal's vision of united and prosperous region. Then we have Hidayat Tanai Saab. He is founder of Afghanistan Solidarity for Social and Humanity Organization. Humanity Organization. He is also diplomat of International Human Rights Commission and also related to business and trade between the two countries. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. I'll start with my first question from Mr. Imtiaz Gul Saab. Considering, sir, your and yours institutional work for Afghan issues, what do you think what policy measures should Pakistan adopt to better balance humanitarian obligations and national security concerns when addressing Afghan refugees? And also, what mistakes Pakistan has done so far in this regard and how they can be addressed?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So first, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm just a practitioner, a learner, people call me expert, but this is, I don't consider myself as an expert. I just know a bit because I treated Afghanistan as my second home ever since I started visiting that country as a reporter for the Deutsche Welle, for the CNN. So on a number of occasions, I have seen the country through war, through civil war, and also under the Taliban. So there are basically two dimensions, two questions you asked. What mistakes Pakistan committed? I think Pakistan committed a number of mistakes on operational issues. We miserably failed to turn the presence of refugees, Afghan refugees, and particularly those who were born here, into an opportunity for Pakistan. We failed to turn them into goodwill ambassadors for Pakistan by naturalizing them. That's why we still keep talking about 1.7 million Afghan refugees, whereas I think over 60% of them were born in Pakistan. So that was a huge blunder, I think, that Pakistan committed. We still don't have a refugee law which would allow naturalization of refugees, whether Afghan or Nepali or Bengali, to become full citizens of this country. And with that, you create such a huge goodwill among those who are being naturalized that you really don't have to worry about what they might be doing. This mindset of suspecting everybody else. This is what has ruled dominated most of the policy making in this country. And the second biggest blunder, I would say, has been the refusal to allow all Afghans present in Pakistan or those businessmen coming to Pakistan to open and operate bank accounts. So with that, Pakistan lost a number of opportunities, including massive hundreds of millions of dollars, I would say, because of two big occasions. One was the arrival of the Taliban back in 2008, 1996, when a lot of people headed to Pakistan with money. They were affluent people, but they stayed here for decades and they were still treated as refugees. Then I think when this 9/11 happened, so another lot came into Pakistan with a lot of money. And then particularly after the return of the Taliban to power in August 2021, there were tens of thousands of people with cash, with stacks of dollars, who would have deposited that money here, would have started their businesses here, because we have so much, as Pakistanis, we have so much direct stake in commerce, in finance, in business in Afghanistan, that we should have basically allowed these people to open and operate bank accounts, which they cannot do right now. They cannot own any property here. They cannot have a car registered in their name. So these are the big policy mistakes that Pakistan has committed, and then basically depriving itself of massive funding opportunities. Instead of looking up to outsiders, we would have had a lot of millions of dollars probably in Pakistan immediately after August 2021. We did not materialize, we did not basically capitalize on those opportunities. In terms of service, yes, we have been doing service, but that service also, we hosted refugees here as much as Iran did, as much as Turkey is hosting refugees, as much as some African countries are hosting refugees from their neighborhood. So it's a humanitarian cause that every nation performs because they have signed off the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Because of being the member of the United Nations, they are obliged to basically host refugees. We still treated the refugees much better than than the Iran did, because they were all free here to study, to go about their businesses. But then, what's the point in treating them well if you cannot offer them an opportunity to mainstream them in this country, the way people get mainstreamed in the United States, in Canada, in Europe? After having lived there for 4 or 5 years, they become naturalized citizens. Why couldn't we offer this opportunity at least to those born in Pakistan? So we took a number of confidence building measures. We supported the Afghans in different phases of the war and post-war. But that is like a charity. A lot of people looked at it as a charity, just because you are being sympathetic to the Afghans. So that's why you're donating wheat, you're sending other foodstuff, and you're also providing them some financial support together with the United Nations. But Pakistan really lacked a long-term vision, a strategic vision for how to turn the presence of the Afghan refugees into an opportunity for itself, turning them into a human capital for this country. They are very enterprising people. So as we proceeded with the passage of time, and particularly when Pakistan aligned itself with the Afghan Taliban, supporting them politically, providing them safe passage into and out of Pakistan, that I think also sowed bad blood during the presidency of Hamid Karzai, the presidency of Mr. Ashraf Ghani. We all saw a gradual, very drastic decline in the relationship, just because of the facilities or the opportunities that were available to the Afghan Taliban. And then a whole generation grew up with the thought of the Taliban being supported by Pakistan, because we so frequently visited that country as a part of our track 2, track 1.5, that every time we would listen all those complaints that, your people are coming here and killing people. Almost on a daily basis, there would be attacks. So obviously, when this perception is circulating all over, becomes viral, so it becomes a faith, a belief among the people who see themselves as the receiving end, who perceive themselves as the victim. So That was a political blunder other than the policy blunders, the mistakes that Pakistan committed, with the result that today, I think Pakistanis are looked at as strangers, I would say. I had so much love in Afghanistan, so much affinity, despite all the miseries that we saw during the civil war. But unfortunately, today, both countries are the relation between the two countries are sort of stalemated. The warmth that used to be projected as our natural uh, asset is not there anymore because of political reasons. And I wish, we could have handled the policy in a more political way than we did. So, and with the result that the relationship is not good today. I will hand here. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful views and perspectives. Now I will move on to Ma'am Fajer Rabia Pasha for my next question. So, ma'am, in your work with the Afghan refugees, particularly in the area of girls, um, what have been some of the most significant successes and the key barriers that are still need to be addressed in this area?
Thank you very much, Ikra. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. Acha, so when we're talking about education in Pakistan, and particularly for Afghan refugees and then Afghan girls in Pakistan, we know that there's a very small number of refugee population who's been able to access education in Pakistan, and one of the key reason for that is that education in Pakistan itself is in a huge crisis, right? So what we've seen is in the last between 2021 and 2023, there has been an increase in terms of enrollment. The provincial governments particularly have been very open and forthcoming with ensuring that if there are Afghan refugee children living in a community, then they are able to access government schools just like Pakistani children as well. So that's something, we've seen a lot of improvement. For example, we've seen that particularly Balochistan, which is really seen as a hard area and very sort of, there is a lot of education challenges. Regardless of that, Balochistan government has been very, very supportive of refugees on ground. Now we run a number of programs, education programs across the country, and in terms of success, there is always success. When you're talking about, when if you can provide that facility to children and to girls particularly, because we still see that there's a lot of cultural barrier in terms of, for girls to be able to go out of those communities and to go into the mainstream schools or to a co-education school. So we've seen in terms of, the model we have developed, which is a community-based education model, and we can set up a community school for Afghan girls, particularly in their communities or your refugee camps. Then we see that enrollment is very, very high. In fact, there is so much demand for education that we are not able to meet that demand. So that to me is a success that, given that current situation in Afghanistan where there's a ban on girls' education, it's the parents here would want that opportunity for the girls. They wouldn't want that, for the girls particularly to miss out. And that's one of the risks actually, attached to when we're talking about repatriation of Afghan families. That's where, we're putting really, really the Afghan girls and women at risk, because once they go back, they would not have that access to education that they have here. So not to say that everybody has access to education, but that's particularly because that we just do not have, as a country, do not have the resources to provide education to such a huge number of children, both girls and boys in Pakistan. And that's where I keep saying at every forum possible that that's where the global community needs to come and help. The girls particularly who are here, they should be provided with education. The boys here should be provided with education. And I agree with Imtiaz. Like, for example, in our model, it's for us, it's all about creating ambassadors for Pakistan. We want the children who are coming into our system, the girls who are coming into our system particularly, to be able to feel at home, right? To be able to see what people of Pakistan are doing for them, regardless of what the governments are doing or what the global community is doing. And that works, we see a lot of love for Pakistan from children and from the communities that we're working in. But what tends to happen is that education and schools are your sort of, prime hub of a community. And that's where you can really nurture children, their thought processes, and their emotion and emotional well-being. And that's where, I think, education can play a very, very important role to change that narrative that, we have, or perception that is there when we're talking to friends in Afghanistan, or the global community, and especially, creating ambassadors around that. So that's where I think, a good investment in education for Afghan refugee children would create wonders. It can really change a lot of things. And from gender perspective, from girls' perspective, I think, because the girls do not have that access in their own country at the moment, if they can be given the opportunity to go to school here, then that would be, from humanitarian point of view, from the human rights aspect, I think that's very, very important. And when we're talking about success, amazing Afghan community. I mean, we've been working with Afghan communities for almost 10 years now, and we've never had any problems or issues. There have always been very forthcoming, very supportive communities, regardless of how much poverty they're living under. But we've seen that support structure within the communities as well. So that is something very, I feel that is very, very, very inspiring at times, especially when in times of need, when it's difficult times and challenging times, we see the kind of situations they have to live under in the refugee camps. For example, there'd be no access to clean drinking water, there'd be no access to electricity, just basic facilities. So it's a very difficult place to visit, and we don't have to go far. Just within Islamabad, we know that we have Afghan communities based in the outskirts of Islamabad, and you can go there and you can see the situation. But this is what I think, with our programs, particularly, we've seen a lot of success. We've seen a lot of success with the girls' education. We've seen a lot of success with the boys as well. And we've seen a lot of success with Afghan women as well. We run a program which basically works with Afghan women who have a skill set, but it puts them through a training program so they can learn language, so they can learn Urdu, so they can integrate better in the local society. They can learn English, so they can sort of, also are in better position to communicate with global community. But then also learn sort of, skills around entrepreneurship and e-commerce, etc. We've just had a program which is coming to an end, and we've had about 600 women set up right now as entrepreneurs. And that has been an amazing experience. And to see the quality of work that these women are doing, the hard work, the commitment. So you see, I mean, I agree in terms of what Imtiaz has said, that, there is so much opportunity. But I say that for our own people as well, that there is so much opportunity that we are not really capitalizing on when we're talking about our women, our girls, our children, by providing education to everybody, regardless of where they come from. You see, that's kind of, is a responsibility on us as a country, but it's also a responsibility on the global community, is to support Pakistan, to support those children, and particularly girls. So, I think, it's just, I would emphasize the same thing again. For me, the schools become the hub of community. The schools become where you can really bring not just the education and the children together, but their parents together, the community together as a whole, and change that, narrative that they may have while living in a community, or while, when they go back to their country, for example, if they go back to their country. But I agree with the fact, I've spent a lot of time in England, and I've done a lot of work with refugees in England. And it used to be very, very difficult for families there, including Pakistani families there, when they've lived in a country for a long time, for many years, and the children are born in that country, and they're going through that system. And if one day the government decides, in UK, for example, you have a proper system. You make an application, and if your case is vetted, etc., then you would be given residence for UK. But in the case, if you are a refugee family and 10 years later your case is rejected, for whatever reason, and you have to go back, that would put families in such a difficult situation, because not just what would happen with them back home, but for their children particularly, because they become part of a system. So I've seen a lot of children who were, who would consider themselves British because they were born there, but they were not given that right to live after a certain number of years. So it's the same thing, I see with Afghan refugees here or other refugee communities in Pakistan who have been living here for such a long time, and children particularly, who we need to accept as our own, and we need to work with the global community to make sure that they are given the education, the skills, so they can be, they can contribute to the society, just like we would expect our people to do so. And there is a lot of, I think, amazing opportunities available. But I think, our country itself, because we're going through such a huge economic crunch, this is where the global community really needs to step in, and especially the global community that really sort of speaks up about the ban on girls' education in Afghanistan. I would say again and again that those activists, those global donors who are speaking up for ban should also ensure that there is proper funding available and good quality education available for girls, Afghan girls in Pakistan. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you do. Thank you so much for sharing some success stories, and you need really huge appreciation for your work you have done for Afghan refugees and girls and education in Pakistan. So now we will move on. Before moving on to our next speaker, I would like to announce that we have a good number of listeners in this webinar. I would like you all to just add your questions if you have any in the chat box, and I'll pick you up and ask question to the concerned person. So now we'll move on to our next speaker, Mohibullah Noori Saab. Mohibullah Saab, you are already working on Pak-Afghan unity, and you have been in the field for many years. So I would like you to tell us that how can we reframe the narrative around Afghan refugees to highlight their potential as a contributor to regional connectivity and economic growth?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers from Pakistan and Afghanistan. It is a privilege for me to join this meeting. I appreciate Javed Salman and the Pak-Afghan Youth Forum for inviting me, and thank you, Iqra, for your donation. Regarding the refugees, I think the question is not that to turn the refugees as into an opportunity. They are already an opportunity for both countries. I'm not going to focus on any challenges that the refugees are facing today, currently. There is hundreds challenges that the refugees are facing in Pakistan, Iran, and Turkey. But my focus is on opportunities. How to turn these refugees into an opportunity for both country, for both nation. As I indicated already, these refugees are an opportunity for both country. They are, now there is over more than 13% of business and trade between Pakistan and Afghanistan. These businesses, this trade are facilitated by the refugees. And there is Pakistan businesses are connecting through Afghanistan to Central Asia. This also is facilitated by refugees. And the refugees in Pakistan already connected the two nations beyond the borders, socially, culturally, and economically. You know, in the past 2 decades, more than 2 decades, we had a very skilled generation of those who staff that were working in the Afghan government in the Republic, and now they are driving even the Taliban administration. They were studied in Pakistan universities. So the trade, you know, through the scale, the cultural exchanges, all are made by these refugees. So, but the refugees actually are regional issues. It is part of. They are actually the multi-identity with multi-identity nationalities. They are. I call them as a regional citizen. You know, the refugees are the regional citizen. That we can call them the regional citizen because they are not belong to a country. They are not a regional issue. They are not a national issue. It is a regional issue. And the refugees are part of a broader regional movement that already we have in the region. This is a key element of this regional movement. And that the only obstacle on the way of refugees is the politics that and the security issues and the policies that the government have in the region. There is a cycle of, as you can see, there is a cycle of you know, the violence in the region that affected the refugees. For example, when the Taliban take over in Kabul, in Afghanistan, in August 2021, more 1,000 people. After the Soviet invasion, it was the second wave of the largest wave of the refugees that left fled to Pakistan, left the country, and fled to Pakistan and Iran. So when on October, as you know, that the government of Pakistan announced that by November 1st, 2023, more than 1.7 million refugees must leave the country. So what was the cause and effect? You know, the TTA, backed by the government of Pakistan, overtake Afghanistan, and then the refugees came to Pakistan, and then it was announced that this because of the security issues, because the TTA is backing the TTP. So these people, because of the security concern, they have to leave the country. So this is the government. The problem is with the government. So I am not going to focus on the root causes of this kind of policy that the government have. But the reality is that the government is not cooperating with each other. They are not cooperating to, you know, solve this the basic problems, that the differences between the two countries and the two governments. Any government that they are coming in Kabul, that their policy toward Pakistan is changing. Why? Because there's some basic issue that we need to solve. So that is why on birthday anniversary of Allama Iqbal, I wish to attend and present a new initiative that called Allama Iqbal Accord. Allama Iqbal Accord or Allama Iqbal Misaq is it is about identifying the challenges between the two governments, between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and there is a suggestion and solution, for solving the fundamental things, issues between the two governments and two countries. Before solving those basic problems, we cannot turn refugees the vision towards the refugees and changing these refugees from a challenge to an opportunities. So when we change the outlook, the vision that we don't have now, we don't have a vision as to a nation, to governments, and the regional activists in the region, the communities, we don't have a clear vision of solving, identifying the problems, and how to solve this problem. We don't have this vision. We don't know where we are going to. So the Allama Iqbal Accord is suggesting that we can solve our problem, our basic problem, our fundamental challenges and the problems, the root causes of the problem that we have between Afghanistan and Pakistan through regional cooperation and regional integration outlook or vision. That it is a part of a letter that I already sent to the community of Pashtun, to the Pashtun Jirga, to the Manzur Pashtun. Already I have seen this part of this suggestion as a letter that the solution for communities, the border communities and the border towns and the tribal areas, and for the refugees are a vision of regional integration between the country, like the European Union, and opening the borders. So it needs to create a vision first, establish a vision between the two countries. So this is the main thing, that's the key issues that suggested under the Allama Iqbal Misaq or Allama Iqbal Accord. As I indicated in the beginning, the refugees issue is not a national issue. It is a regional issue. So that is why the solution is regional, like the border communities also are the same problem. They are facing the same problem. They are the regional issue. And the refugees also is a national issue and need a regional solution. This regional solution for temporary that we are suggesting is that we can bring together the activists for defending the refugees' rights in Pakistan, even Iran and Turkey, together to work on a solution and advocate for establishing a regional body, can be called the organization for a giant organization between the four countries of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, and Turkey for managing these refugee and migration issues. No one can solve, individually as a country, because it is a regional issue and we can solve together. So that is why we are suggesting this regional organization to manage the refugees and solve the problem together. So this is the final the suggestion that I have. Thank you for providing me with this opportunity to share my thoughts. Appreciate you and have a good day.
Thank you so much for sharing your insightful perspective. You added a unique perspective to this discussion. So before moving forward to another speaker, I would like Imtiaz Saab and Ma'am Fajer and other speakers as well to stay with us for a while. We have questions for you. So after moving towards next speaker, we will take these questions from you guys, and then inshallah we'll keep it that way. So now we'll ask question from Mr. Hidayat Jan. Hidayat Jan is with us, yes? Yes, he is. So, sir, as a diplomat and a businessman, what do you see that what are the key opportunities for enhancing trade and economic collaboration between Afghan refugees entrepreneurs and businesses in Pakistan? And what policy regulatory changes could help to foster more enabling environment for Afghan refugees to contribute to Pakistan economy, particularly in small and medium enterprises? Sir, over to you.
From last 4 decades, Afghan refugees living in Pakistan, and they are living in different provinces like in KPK, Gilgit-Baltistan, Azad Jammu Kashmir, and also Punjab. So they are involved in different businesses, like the huge number of Afghan involved in the rug businesses and also import-export. But some part of some people also involved to running their restaurant in Pakistan. Still, they are in Pakistan. So the main thing is that when the Pakistani policy for Afghan refugees, it will be a good opportunities for both countries to bring them friendly policy, not one-side policy like Pakistan have 2 policies for businessmen, like they implementing one policy for Pakistani national businessmen and other one for abroad or foreigner business for businessmen. So when the Pakistan government is really interested in the Pakistani government is honest with Afghan businessmen and Afghan refugees, they will make a friendly policy, like they start to take taxes from the Afghan refugees when someone is moving from Afghanistan, like to start industrial business in Pakistan. So they start some foreign financial policies, like in Afghanistan. We have a minimum tax reduction policies. When someone want to invest in Afghanistan, so they pay a little bit tax like in Afghanistan. So also in Pakistan, when I was in Pakistan, so I met with my business partner. They are Pakistani, and the government increased the tax level to a huge level, because everyone is confused how to pay, how to earn, and how to earn money in Pakistan, and how to pay that huge taxes in Pakistan. So it's my request to all the national and local organization and also international organization to implement the international financial and business policy on Afghan refugees, not only the Pakistani policies, because it's not friendly. From last 4 and 5 years, I'm like we are confused to business with Pakistani side. Sometimes they close the borders for a month and 2 months. Sometimes they open their borders for 6 months and 6.5 months. So it's not the policy, it's the other rules. When someone is asking, like they're finding the benefits, then they are working for their own benefits, not for the businessmen and not for the people benefits. So they always implementing their own policies. And I also called him, it's not an international policy. Because Ikra, everyone knows that from 4 decades, Afghan living in Pakistan, so still they didn't made a good policy for refugees, because everyone knows 2.2 million Afghans still living in Afghanistan, and they are moving to cross the border in different areas like in Torkham and Chaman borders. But they still they do not make a policy for those Afghan refugees when they crossing the border from Pakistan or Afghanistan to Pakistan. And but some last time I met with some excellencies in the embassy of Pakistan. So they said we are in progress to make some like easiest rules for those who have a business in Pakistan and in Afghanistan. Like they are agreed to start business friendly business policies in Pakistan for Afghan businessmen and also for Pakistani businessmen. So thank you, Ikra, and also I want to appreciate the valuable word of Rabia Pasha. I think Rabia Pasha,
She's Rabia Pasha, Fajer Rabia Pasha.
She support the Afghan girls education. So I'm very thankful to you and also Salman Bhai and to all. And thank you, Ikra.
Thank you so much for pointing out some challenges and in trade and businesses. We can hope for the best in the future as inshallah. So
Inshallah.
now we'll move on towards the question answer session. The session is now open. We have some question in the chat box. I'll take some. So this is the question from Halima Khalid. A question for Mr. Imtiaz Gul. Given the mistakes on both sides and the current stalemate between Pakistan and Afghanistan, what policy approach should we adopt moving forward? What do you believe could be the potential solution to break this deadlock? I hope you have answered this question, but if you want to add more point to it, you can, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Sorry for the
Yeah,
inconvenience.
I think I already responded to that question basically. There are complications on both sides. The Afghans, in the first place, have to stop this Durand line mantra. They also have to lower the expectation that they have from Pakistan and from Iran. They have a very high threshold, sense of entitlement as victims of conflict. I think we in Pakistan have also been now victims of conflict. Some of it is created is of our own making, but the only through sense of entitlement, high expectations, you cannot get anywhere in your international relations. Then the current government also shall have to be sympathetic towards Pakistan's viewpoint on the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and ISKP, just because their leaders live in Afghanistan as official guests. This is a reality that they cannot deny. So they may have been partners in their jihad, but now the same people are creating havoc in Pakistan. Like in the last 25 days alone, Pakistan has seen nearly 260 casualties of army, of police, government officials, and innocent civilians. And this has happened in 160 attacks or so. And these are the people, obviously, who are moving in the border regions or across the border. So for Pakistan, Pakistan shall have to treat Afghanistan as a sovereign country, number one. Number two, it shall have to stop thinking that it is giving a charity to Afghans. They, as a landlocked country, Afghans deserve a free access to the sea, and that's why their transit trade basically should continue to flow. Putting restrictions on the transit trade basically has been a very contentious issue, just because the pretext, the excuse for restrictions on the transit trade have been the smuggling back to Pakistan. But that is not the issue of Afghans. The smuggling takes place within Pakistan when our own border security officials, starting from Karachi port up to Torkham and up to Chaman borders and Ghulam Khan, they're all involved. And the major transportation mechanism or vehicles, they belong to the NLC, National Logistics Cell. They also are carrying trackers. They are insured. So undue restrictions placed on the transit cargo have basically driven transit trade away from Pakistan to Iran. So I think this is a subject, because this Halima has asked about the way forward. I personally think, having dealt with this issue for so long, that all the transit trade, bilateral trade, financial aspects, the taxation issues, they should be dealt by technocrats, by experts, not by government officials, in order to keep them independent of the policy issues. So Pakistan needs to do a lot more as a sixth, seventh largest country, nuclear armed, much more functional than Afghanistan is. So the bigger brother always has a bigger responsibility, and we need to do a lot in order to win back the goodwill that at times, was Pakistan's asset. But now that asset is missing just because of the so many missteps that Pakistan has been taking. Does that answer Halima's question?
Yes, you have answered quite well. Thank you so much. We have another question from Ms. Fajer. The question was from Muniba. I have attended your previous sessions with PAF2 and aspired a lot. Like you said, Afghan girls weren't allowed by their families to attend school. It was the whole success story from zero girls to 100. But now Pakistan has started repatriating them. How badly it affects those girls? What's their experience, if anyone shared with you? So you have answered it in the chat box already. If you want to add something, we have another question from you, Ma'am Fajar. You can answer the both.
Sure. I think, as I said before, that, when we looking at repatriation, then we see that it's the women and girls who are the most at risk, once they go back. The men generally would just get on with their lives and get on with everything as normal, but it's the women and girls. So especially for those girls who do have access to education in Pakistan, who are going to schools in Pakistan, and we saw that in the last phase when Afghan refugees were being repatriated, a lot of our children were, a part of that repatriation as well. And all of those girls then unfortunately lost the education of, opportunity to go back to school in Afghanistan. So that's, I don't think that requires a lot of explanation and justification. You have an opportunity to get an education, have a better future, make a life out of out of education for yourself and your communities. But once you go back, then you don't have that, not at the moment at least. So that's the impact, that I think, the government of Pakistan needs to consider before, sending refugees back. Just always remember that, if they're refugees, then they're considered refugees for a reason. And what happens when you send the refugees back? Because you're putting them in the same, at the same risk which they were trying to run away from. So that's one thing. There was another very interesting question: if distance learning model can work, or if we offer or could be offered in future for Afghan girls. I think that's a great sort of, could be a great opportunity. We don't offer any distance learning model at the moment for Afghan girls, because we work with the primary level children and girls particularly. So they come from families who also are sort of, they're not literate. So what tends to happen is that, a distance learning model is very difficult for them to sort of, to support the children with, and they need that, very much hands-on support. But that distance learning model can work very, very well for older girls who have been to school before. Let's just say we saw a lot of Afghans who came to Pakistan post-Taliban takeover. A lot of them were educated. They came from very different backgrounds. So for girls like that, it would be very easily to integrate, or at least, utilize the distance learning model, and it's much more cost effective as well. And like I said, that, in the last few years post Taliban takeover, we saw a huge shift in government education policy from the government of Pakistan, and the schools are open to everyone. So if there is a school, government school near where refugees are living, then they can get the children enrolled. So there are no questions asked anymore. Before parents' ID cards were required, and children, birth certificates were required, etc. This is not a requirement anymore for the government school. So this is a big thing that I see that the government has done, that even though, Pakistan currently itself has 26.2 million children who are not going to school. So that's a huge number. And then on top of that, we have the Afghan refugee children as well. So opening up the schools, I see as a very sort of as a warm gesture, because you're saying that whatever services or whatever facilities at least we have, it's open to you. So we saw, this is why we saw an increase in enrollment. I have some figures like, for example, 9,500 students were enrolled, out of which almost 50% were girls, from after 2021. And back in 2020, the figures were around 5,000. So you could see that there's a huge, jump, though not enough at all, because given the numbers actually we have of girls who are, and boys of Afghan refugees who are in Pakistan, that's a huge number. But at least we see that, the schools are there, the schools are open, and if there is space available, then they can get the children enrolled in the mainstream school, which is the better option, because you want the refugee community integrated in the mainstream community. Because unfortunately, what tends to happen is that when the communities don't integrate together, that's where the division comes. And that's where people, live separately, and they don't understand each other's culture, emotions, and, how they feel about each other. So we need to open up our, schools, we need to open up our hospitals, we need to open up our services, and they need to be treated just like a Pakistani would be treated. So I think that's something very important. More and more programs, from the government, been good to see, from the donor community, from the government, more and more programs around mainstreaming, not just education, but mainstreaming of Afghan refugee children, particularly in the Pakistani system, would really, really help Pakistan in the long term. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very great insights from you. We have a question for Mr. Mohibullah. From Zainab Hashmi. We have a question. Can regional integration like European Union truly resolve the deep-rooted political and security challenges between Pakistan and Afghanistan, or it is unrealistic solution given the current state of relations and lack of clear vision?
Thank you for the question. So let me first appreciate Fajer Rabia Pasha for her advocacy for the girls' education. The question is not that it is realistic or unrealistic. The question is, what is the solution for these regional issues, regional challenges? What is your solution? What is your solution for the families divided in both sides of the Tehran line? What is your solution for the refugees that they have multi-identity? They have the identity of Pakistan and also the identity of Afghanistan. How we can solve this problem with the generation that born in Pakistan, but basically by blood they are from Afghanistan. There is, models in front of our eyes from our neighboring countries, like the Central Asian countries. They have border issues, border tension and disputes between Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, between Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan. In the past last decade, they solved their problem through the regional cooperation, regional integration, and now they have they are going to solve the rest of the problem through this regional cooperation. And the Turkey countries, like from Turkey, Azerbaijan to Central Asian country, they found the organization of Turkic State Council, and they are solving their problem. What is the vision of the Afghanistan and Pakistan in this region? There is another neighboring countries, is the Gulf countries. They established the GCC, and they are solving their trade issue, their economic issues, and the rest of their problem through the regional issues, regional integration through the GCC. But here, Pakistan and Afghanistan, there is no clear vision how we are going to solve our fundamental regional issues that are shared between the two countries. So that is why, as a suggestion, I'm saying the only solution for solving the security issue, the economic issues, the refugees, the families divided in both sides of the borders, the Devran line. So the only way is we solve the problem through the regional integration, like the European did, like the Central Asian now is going to do through this solution. We can open the border, we can solve the security problems through this region and solve the problem through the regional integration and open the borders to the refugees, to the families divided in the both sides of the borders, and for trader, those who are doing trade. So this is I think one of the very realistic solution that the European already did, and the other countries are doing this. I don't see that as unrealistic. Thank you.
Okay, that is end of our question answer session. So I would like to invite Mr. Salman Javed for closing remarks, and then we'll wind up our webinar, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Ikra. It was very enlightening to hear all the esteemed panelists, especially Imtiaz Saab. He is always someone who educates us and who tells us a lot about his experiences and observations with regards to Pakistan and Afghanistan's affairs, as he had a lot of experience at hand, which he can share and through which he can actually put forth some policy perspectives on the strategic level, which can be adopted and which can be followed and pursued. Fajer Rabia Pasha, as usual, I've been observing her work and tried to, collaborate a few times with her to deliver some things at the refugee schools as well. A wonderful job that she's carrying out, and I hope that she will not tire out because of the inability and incapacity of our government policies and their attention towards such an important issue for the community which is residing amidst us, and they need a kind of attention which a normal Pakistani child may also deserve. Mohibullah Noori Saab, you have profoundly told us about this idea of regional integration. This is something which is very much realistic, I would say, because like you also mentioned a few examples from the European Union, from the GCC, from some other regional countries and areas as well. There is an organization already in place which is known as ECO, Economic Cooperation Organization, which is again something which was initiated as an idea to integrate this region, which includes Iran, Central Asian countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Turkey as well. But unfortunately, that ECO is also at a stalemate. Also, our very famous diplomat, Mr. Asad Machid, who is the former Foreign Secretary of Pakistan, as well as right now the General Secretary of that organization. And we are still hoping that this organization may play a role which may convert something or materialize something of this idea of regional integration which can then, transform into something which we can call as a shared future or a shared progress for this region. Hidayat Jan Tanai sir, I've been observing your work as well and your business that you are trying to carry out over in Pakistan, and also trying to bridge, communities of these two countries through your business activities. And I hope that you will have your solutions soon. And I hope that policymakers in Pakistan and Afghanistan both may adhere to you and adhere to your requests and pleas. And we will also put forward, obviously, these recommendations and policy inputs from your side and from all the worthy panelists. I thank you all. And I thank you, the listeners as well, who were here very patiently listening to our boring talk, I hope. And I hope that we'll sit again and we'll try to find out solutions for some other problems and issues that these two countries face while dealing with each other. Thank you so much. Over to Ikra.
So, as we conclude this insightful discussion, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed panelists for sharing their valuable perspectives and thought-provoking insights. Today's conversation has highlighted the complexities surrounding Afghan refugees in Pakistan, showcasing both the challenges and immense opportunities that lies ahead. So, let us commit to foster greater understanding, collaboration, and turning challenges into opportunities and failures into learnings. Together, we can create inclusive future where Afghan refugees are not seen as a crisis, but a bridge to a more united and prosperous region. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, and Allah Hafiz.